Please subscribe to my channel and do hit the bell icon. So in this video we will be studying about pharmacological actions of histamine. So first action we will see upon the blood vessels. Blood vessels. So in blood vessels, you know, we have got various blood vessels, such as, firstly we have got large blood vessels such as arteries. Next, these arteries will split up to form arterioles. And these arterioles will split up to form minute blood vessels such as capillaries. These are capillaries. Capillary is made up of only endothelium, that is a single layer of epithelial tissue. Next, these capillaries will unite to form venules. Okay, and venules will unite to form another big blood vessel, that is veins. Okay, so arteries and veins are the larger blood vessels, whereas arterioles, capillaries and venules, these are the smaller blood vessels. So now we are talking about actions, or you can say pharmacological actions of histamine on the blood vessels. On the blood vessel we will find histaminic H1 and H2 receptor. On the larger blood vessel, that is on the arteries and on the veins, we will find H1 receptor. On the smaller blood vessels such as arterioles and venules, we find both H1 as well as H2 receptor. Whereas the smallest blood vessels, that is the capillaries, here we find only H1 receptor. Okay, so arteries H1 receptor, arterioles contains both H1 as well as H2 receptor, capillaries contains H1 receptor, venules contains H1 H2 receptor, and veins contains only H1 receptor. Now coming to the actions. Actions of histamine on the larger blood vessels, that is your arteries and veins, it produces vasoconstriction. Okay, so whenever histamine is released and when it acts on the larger blood vessels such as arteries and veins, it produces vasoconstriction. Next, coming to the actions of histamine on the smaller blood vessels such as arterioles, capillaries and venules. In the smaller blood vessels, it produces vasodilation. Okay, so what we understood, histaminic action on the blood vessels are on the larger blood vessels such as arteries and veins, where only H1 receptor is present, it produces vasoconstriction. But on the smaller blood vessels such as arterioles, capillaries and venules, it produces vasodilation. Now little bit we'll talk about this arterioles and venules. Okay, so suppose this is arteriole. This is one arteriole and this is another arteriole. Okay. Now suppose this arteriole contains H1 receptor and this arteriole contains H2 receptor. So actions of both the receptors are same. Both will produce vasodilation of the arterioles. But there is some difference. The difference is, the first difference is regarding the affinity. The affinity of H1 receptor is more as compared to H2 receptor. Okay, first difference is affinity. H1 receptor has got greater affinity as compared to H2 receptor. So what does it mean? This means that if you give a small dose of histamine, it can activate H1 receptor. But if you want to activate H2 receptor, we need to give a higher dose of histamine. Okay, so at low dose the H1 receptor will get activated, so it has got a high affinity. High affinity means at low dose a maximum action can be produced. Okay, so H1 receptor have got higher affinity as compared to H2 receptor. That means at very low dose H1 receptor will get activated, but if you want to activate H2 receptor, you require a higher dose of histamine. This is the first difference. Second difference is the vasodilation produced by H1 receptor, it is produced very much early or very immediately, and it is for short duration of time, or you can say it is short acting. Okay, so H1 receptor induced vasodilation is very much early or very much immediate, and it is very short acting, whereas the vasodilation induced by H2 receptor, it is a bit delayed and it is long acting. Okay, so this is another difference between the vasodilation produced by H1 and H2 receptor. H1 receptor induced vasodilation is very much immediate and it is very short acting, whereas H2 receptor mediated vasodilation, it is very much delayed, means after some times the vasodilation is produced. Okay, H2 mediated vasodilation is not immediate, it is delayed and it is long acting. So this is the second difference between the H1 and H2 receptor induced vasodilation. Third difference is regarding the mechanism of action, like how both are producing vasodilation. H1 receptor is producing vasodilation by the release of EDRF, that is endothelium derived relaxing factor, that is nothing but your nitric oxide. Okay, so whenever vasodilation occurs because of H1 receptor, the vasodilation is mainly because of release of nitric oxide. But in case of H2 receptor, the vasodilation occurs because of direct action on the smooth muscle, or you can say vascular smooth muscle. Okay, so this is the third and the last difference between the H1 and H2 receptor induced vasodilation. Okay, and not only arterioles, the same thing applies for venules as well. Okay, so both H1 and H2 receptor causes vasodilation of the smaller blood vessels, that is arterioles and venules. Okay, both produces vasodilation, but there are basically three differences in the vasodilation produced by H1 and H2 receptor. The first difference is regarding the affinity. H1 receptor have got higher affinity as compared to H2 receptor. That means for activation of H1 receptor, a very small dose of histamine is sufficient, but if you want to activate H2 receptor, you require higher doses of histamine. The second difference is the time duration. Whenever H1 receptor is getting activated, immediately there will be vasodilation, and that vasodilation will be for a short duration of time. But when H2 receptor gets activated, vasodilation produced after some time. That means delayed vasodilation will be there, and the vasodilation produced will be for a longer period of time. Third difference is in the mechanism. The H1 induced vasodilation occurs because of release of nitric oxide, whereas H2 mediated vasodilation occurs because of direct action on the vascular smooth muscle. So these are the two differences in the vasodilation produced by H1 as well as H2 receptor. And this is about the vasodilation or the actions of histamine on the arterioles and venules. Next we will talk about the capillaries. In the capillaries we have only H1 receptor, and we know capillaries is made up of a single layer of endothelium. So basically first of all we will see the image. Suppose this is a normal endothelium. Normal, it is like this. Okay, this is a capillary made up of a single layer of endothelium, and here it contains H1 receptor. When histamine binds with H1 receptor, it causes vasodilation. So it will appear somewhat like this. After vasodilation, the capillaries will become like this. Okay, because of vasodilation. Now you can see gaps are being produced in between the cells. So these gaps are nothing but, you can say, there is increased permeability. There will be increased permeability, because of which there will be release of the plasma. Okay, so whatever blood was moving here, because of this increased permeability, easily the plasma can be released out of these capillaries. So this is known as exudation of fluid. So this fluid is nothing but your plasma. Okay, so from here the fluid will be moving outside. What happens when fluid moves outside? Where does it move? It moves to the extracellular spaces, because of which water will be filled, fluid will be filled. This leads to a condition known as edema. Okay, so what all things happens over blood vessels? Yes, whenever histamine is released, first of all, H1 receptor is present on the larger blood vessels where it produces vasoconstriction. Next, on the arterioles and venules, H1 and H2 receptor are present, both will cause vasodilation. Plus on the capillaries, it contains H1 receptor where it also causes vasodilation. Because of vasodilation, what will happen? Yes, because of vasodilation there will be increased permeability, and easily there will be exudation of the plasma leading to edema. So these are the pharmacological actions of histamine on the blood vessels. In addition to this, flushing occurs. Flushing occurs basically to the blush areas. Plus, when you give histamine via subcutaneous route, it will cause increase in heart rate and increase in cardiac output with little or no effect on the blood pressure. But when you give histamine via intravenous route, it will cause a fall in blood pressure, and this fall in blood pressure is basically because of vasodilation. So these are the various actions of histamine on the blood vessels. Apart from this, one more important actions of histamine is the triple response. You know, when this triple response occurs, you just imagine one mosquito have bitten you. Okay, you have come across a mosquito bite. Over this area, a mosquito have bitten you. So what will happen immediately after mosquito bite? Yes, there will be a redness. Suppose here the mosquito has bitten and here there will be local redness, isn't it? After redness, what will happen? There will be some kind of swelling. Okay, after swelling, what happens? There will be surrounding area, you will feel like itching, you feel like scratching that area, and little bit pain will be there. So this is nothing but triple response. So triple response is nothing but, first of all, red spot will be there. Next, wheal will be there, and lastly, flare will be there. So what is this red spot? As the name only says, there will be a red spot over here. And why is this red spot? Red spot is because of capillary dilation. Next, wheal. What was wheal means? After a mosquito bite, what will happen? Some kind of swelling will be there. Why that swelling occurs? Swelling occurs because of exudation of the fluid via the capillaries. Okay, so wheal is nothing but swelling, or you can say edema, because of exudation of fluid. Next, what is happening in flare? Flare means some kind of itching and pain will be there, and that is nothing but your axon reflex. Axon, to you people know, there will be part of your neuron, there will be dendrites and cell body, and then there will be long axon. So this is axonal reflex, because of which flare occurs. Flare means locally on the surrounding area there will be redness and little bit itching and pain will be there. That is nothing but flare. This is triple response. So as soon as a mosquito bites, histamine will be releasing, and what histamine is doing, first of all red spot will be there. Red spot means because of capillary dilation. Next there will be a little bit swelling. Swelling occurs because of exudation of the fluid via the capillaries, because the capillaries become very much permeable, because of which the plasma will be easily moving outside the blood vessels, because of which swelling or edema may occur. And lastly flare. Flare means in the surrounding area little bit redness will be there with itching and pain, which mainly occurs because of axonal reflex. So this is the action of histamine on the blood vessels. Next action is on heart. Okay. Second action is on heart. On heart also we find both H1 as well as H2 receptor. But as such, if we consume histamine or if we give histamine to any person, we don't find any action of histamine on the intact heart. But if we isolate the heart, and to that isolated heart if we give a shot of histamine, then some series of actions will be produced. Okay, so basically H2 receptor will get activated, leading to positive chronotropic effect and positive inotropic effect. That is, it increases the heart rate and it increases the force of contraction. And whereas in case of H1 receptor activation, it will produce a negative dronotropic effect. Negative dronotropic effect means it will reduce the conduction, it will reduce the conductivity. Obviously it is via the AV node, it will reduce the AV nodal conductivity, which we call it as negative dronotropic effect. So these both effect is seen on the isolated heart. Okay, but we will not find all these actions when we give the histamine to a normal individual, a normal living individual, and an intact heart will not find all this action. Why? Because of vagal stimulation. Okay, because of vagal stimulation. When we give a histamine to an intact heart, whenever there is an increase in the heart rate and force of contraction, vagal stimulation occurs and everything will come back to normal. But when we isolate the heart, and to that isolated heart if we give histamine, we will find a negative dronotropic effect, which is mediated via H1 receptor, plus there will be a positive chronotropic and positive inotropic effect, which is basically mediated by histaminic H2 receptor. So these are the actions of histamine on heart. Next we'll see actions of histamine on visceral smooth muscle. Okay, so this is the third action on visceral smooth muscles. So first talking about the bronchiolar smooth muscles. So these bronchioles basically contains H1 receptor. In response to activation of histamine on the H1 receptor present on bronchioles, it will produce bronchiolar constriction. So basically guinea pig and people who are suffering from asthma are very much sensitive to histamine because it produces a very forceful bronchiolar contraction. Apart from this smooth muscle of the bronchioles, it also have action on the smooth muscle of your GI tract, which leads to abdominal cramps. Is basically because of increased force of contraction of your stomach. Stomach contraction will be too much, leading to abdominal cramp, plus it will also lead to colic because of increased intestinal contraction. Next, if you talk about uterus, the guinea pig uterus are contracted, but rat uterus, it is dilated. Okay, so difference in species you can see. if you give histamine to guinea pig, its uterus will be contracted, but when you give histamine to rats, the uterus will be dilated. In humans, we don't have any such actions of histamine on the uterus. So you can say a very negligible number of histamine receptors are available in the human uterus, you can say. So in total, you can say actions of histamine on the visceral smooth muscle are, we find visceral smooth muscle basically in the bronchus. We find H1 receptor where there will be bronchial constriction. The guinea pig and people suffering from asthma are very much sensitive to histamine. Next, another area where we'll find histamine receptor is in the GI tract, where it results in abdominal cramps and colic because of intestinal smooth muscle contraction. Next, when we tested histamine in uterus, we found that guinea pig uterus was being contracted, but rat uterus was being dilated. In human uterus, no actions of histamine was being seen. So these all are the actions of histamine on the visceral smooth muscles. Next action of histamine is upon glands. Okay, so fourth area is glands, and basically it mainly causes increase in the gastric acid secretion. Gastric acid secretion. So histamine causes marked increase in gastric acid secretion. So just imagine, this is your GI tract, esophagus, and this is your lovely stomach. Now just imagine this is your parietal cells, just single parietal cell I am making. Okay, this is your parietal cell, and over here on the gastric mucosa you find enterochromaffin like cell. Okay, enterochromaffin like cell. And from this enterochromaffin like cells histamine will be released, and on the parietal cell you find histamine receptor, that too H2 histamine receptor. So whenever from the enterochromaffin like cells histamine is released, it will act on the H2 receptor. And you know H2 receptor is a kind of GS, that is G stimulatory kind of G protein coupled receptor that will cause activation, or it increases the level of cyclic AMP. Okay, so GS, G stimulatory kind of G protein coupled receptor, they mainly act by increasing the level of cyclic AMP, which in turn will cause activation of this proton pump, the membrane proton pump, that will increase the level of proton and thereby increases the secretion, the synthesis as well as the secretion of the gastric acid. So this is the action of histamine on the glands, and this is the gastric glands. On the parietal cells, it will activate H2 receptor, in response to which the membrane proton pump will be getting activated, leading to increase in the synthesis and secretion of the gastric acid. So this is the role of histamine on the glands. Next, after this, the fifth pharmacological action of histamine is on the sensory nerve ending. So if you imagine like any ant or any insect have bitten you, so you will feel itching and pain. So that itching and pain is nothing but it is a kind of sensory response. So this means that histamine has got the ability to activate the sensory nerve endings. So itching occurs when histamine is injected via intravenous route or intracutaneously. Higher concentration of histamine may also lead to pain. So histamine can cause activation of the sensory nerve ending. So this is the fifth pharmacological action of histamine. Next, sixth thing is its action on the autonomic ganglion and adrenal medulla. So basically what's happened over here is, because of its action on autonomic ganglia and adrenal medulla, it will increase the release of adrenaline. And what is the action of adrenaline? Yes, it will cause an increase in the blood pressure. So action of histamine on these areas is, it will cause release of adrenaline, thereby causing a secondary rise in the blood pressure. So this is the fifth action of histamine on our body. Next, lastly, the action of histamine is on central nervous system. We'll check out. As such, histamine cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So we will not find any central action of histamine when we consume it. However, if we take histamine via the intracerebroventricular route, we'll find certain actions such as there will be rise in blood pressure, cardiac stimulation, behavioral arousal, hypothermia, vomiting and ADH release, and these effects are mediated via both H1 as well as H2 postsynaptic receptors. Okay, both H1 and H2 receptors are been involved. In addition to this, in the central nervous system we have a third type of receptor, that is H3 receptors. Okay, that is H3 receptor, and as I have told you, H3 receptor is present prejunctionally. Prejunctionally means, suppose this is neuron number 1 which is involved in the synthesis, storage and release of histamine. This is the neuron from which histamine has been released, and this is the second neuron. Okay, so presynaptic neuron means it is present in the presynaptic neuron, this H3 receptor. So what happens from here, whatever histamine is been released, it will act on the H1, H2 receptor which is present in the postsynaptic neuron. Plus presynaptically also one more new receptor is present, that is H3 receptor. And when H3 receptor will get activated, what will happen? It will inhibit the further release of the histamine. Okay, did you got what happens? H3 receptor activation will inhibit the further release of the histamine. If we block this H3 receptor, there will be continuous release of histamine. Now see, in our brain this histamine is very much necessary for wakefulness. See, now you are awakened, you are able to listen this video because there is continuous release of histamine in your central nervous system. Histamine is very much important, it is very much required for activation of the reticular activating system. Okay, so if histamine release is stopped, you will go to sleep. Okay, you are sleeping because histamine release is stopped in your central nervous system. When you are awakened, that means histamine release is there. Now what is happening over here? Again I'll draw. This is the neuron number 1 and this is the neuron number 2. Neuron number 1 contains H3 receptor. When H3 receptor gets activated, it will inhibit the release of histamine. Okay, when H3 receptor gets activated, it will inhibit the release of histamine. And when histamine release is inhibited means you will go to sleep. Okay, so if you want to be awakened means you need to inhibit this H3 receptor. So H3 receptor inhibitors are there, which is required for maintaining wakefulness. Now again a question comes, why we need to maintain wakefulness means there is a condition known as narcolepsy. Narcolepsy means it is abnormally the person is falling asleep, which is very much problematic. Like if a person is a driver and if that person is suffering from narcolepsy, it is a great problem. So for treating narcolepsy, what we are doing, we are producing a drug which will producing a blockage of this H3 receptor, or we can say it is an H3 receptor antagonist. When this receptor is inhibited means there won't be any obstruction in the release of histamine. When histamine release is good, then you will be awakened, means this narcolepsy problem will be treated. So the drug which is used to block this H3 receptor is pitolisant. Okay, pitolisant. So what this drug pitolisant is doing, this drug is blocking H3 receptor. When H3 receptor is being blocked, then there will be continuous release of histamine and the person will be awake. If we are not blocking histamine, if we are activating histamine, then what will happen? Histamine will inhibit the release of if we are blocking H3 receptor, then what will happen? The activation of H3 receptor will inhibit the release of histamine, because of which the person will fall asleep. Okay, so for treating narcolepsy, what we are doing, narcolepsy is a condition where the person will be very much sleepy. Uncontrollably the person will fall asleep. This is a condition of narcolepsy. So how we are treating narcolepsy? Narcolepsy is being treated by a drug known as pitolisant. This pitolisant will block H3 receptor. When H3 receptor is blocked, there will be continuous release of histamine, because of which the person will be awakened and this narcolepsy problem will be treated. So this is the action of histamine on the central nervous system.